I died choking on my own blood in the back seat of a rented Chevy. The metallic tang flooding my mouth as the world blurred into taillights and regret. My husband, Ethan, was slumped over the wheel. His skull cracked open like a rotten pumpkin from the crash that wasn't an accident. Oh no. It was murder. Plain and simple. Orchestrated by the people who were supposed to love me most. And now, as my eyes snapped open to the sterile hum of a hospital room in 2018, 3 years before that fateful night, I realized the impossible. I was back, 25 again, with the weight of 2 lifetimes crashing down like a goddamn freight train. The monitors beeped steadily. Not the frantic wail I'd heard in my final moments. And the nurse's voice floated in like a bad dream. Reagan? Welcome back. Honey. You passed out from exhaustion. Stress will do that. Exhaustion. If only she knew. I bolted upright, my heart hammering against ribs that no longer ached from the impact, and scanned the room. My phone buzzed on the side table, a text from Mom. Sweetie, dinner at 7. Dad's grilling ribs. Don't be late. Ribs. The same meal we'd shared the night before the crash in my old life, when they'd slipped the brakes and smiled through their lies. I wasn't just alive, I was armed. Every betrayal etched into my soul like a roadmap to hell. And this time, I wouldn't let them drag me there. Ethan was still breathing, somewhere out there in oblivious bliss. And I had 3 years to unravel the web they'd spun around us. But revenge? It tasted like ash already, bitter and unrelenting. Because the first cut would be the deepest, forgiving myself for being so blind. The fluorescent lights of Mercy General buzzed overhead like angry hornets as I stumbled out of that hospital bed, my legs wobbling like a newborn foal's. It was October 15th, 2018, in suburban Chicago, Wrigleyville, to be exact, where the Cubs' ghosts still haunted dive bars and the air smelled of deep dish regret. I'd blacked out at work, my boss later told me, buried under spreadsheets for a marketing gig that paid peanuts but kept the lights on in our cramped 2-bedroom. Ethan was pulling doubles at the auto shop, grease under his nails and dreams of opening his own place dying a slow death under student loans. We were the American dream's ugly stepchildren, married too young at 22. No kids yet, just each other and a fridge full of leftovers. But in my head, the echoes screamed louder. The crash replayed in HD, our family road trip to the Wisconsin Dells. Mom insisting on the old family SUV because it's safer. Reagan, trust us. Dad, at the wheel first, then handing off to Ethan after a pit stop, his hands lingering too long on the keys. The skid on that rain-slicked interstate. The way the car fishtailed, not from hydroplaning but from tampered lines, severed just enough to snap under pressure. Ethan gone in an instant, his laughter for minutes before turning to a gurgle. Me. Thrown clear but pinned, gasping as Mom's voice cut through the sirens. It was an accident, baby. God, why did you have to drag him into this? Drag him into what? That's what clawed at me now. 3 years early. In my first life, I'd spent the aftermath in a fog of morphine and morphine-laced lies. Parents hovering like vultures, siblings, my golden boy brother Tyler and flighty sister Brooke, whispering about moving on while picking at my estate like it was a buffet. The letters. God. The letters Ethan had written me during his deployments. Wait. No. He wasn't military. But he'd scribbled them anyway. Love notes from late nights. Promises etched in ballpoint blue. I'd found them after the funeral, tucked in his toolbox. But Mom. She'd taken them, said they were fueling my delusions, And one humid August afternoon, while I napped off a Xanax haze, she burned them in the backyard fire pit. "Your grief is making everyone uncomfortable, Reagan," she'd cooed, fanning the smoke away from her pearls. "Ethan wouldn't want this." Uncomfortable. The word slithered through me now, hot as venom. I grabbed my coat from the chair, ignoring the nurse's protests, and hailed an Uber outside. The city blurred past, Lakeshore Drive's glittering edge, the L train rattling like my pulse. Home was a third-floor walk-up in a brick building that creaked like old bones, the kind of place where neighbors blasted Motown through paper-thin walls. Ethan was there. I knew his shift ended at 3, and he'd be sprawled on the couch, nursing a beer and scrolling Zillow for garages we couldn't afford. The door clicked open to the smell of microwave pizza and his cologne, that cheap Axe mist he swore made him irresistible. "Babe," his voice from the kitchen, muffled by the fridge door swinging shut. I froze in the entryway, keys dangling from my fingers like a noose. He emerged, all 6'2" of him, broad shoulders from years of wrenching engines, hazel eyes crinkling in that boyish grin that had hooked me at a backyard barbecue our freshman year of college. "Heard about the hospital thing. You okay? Look like you've seen a ghost." "Worse." I'd been one. "Yeah, I managed," voice cracking like thin ice. I crossed the room in 3 strides, burying my face in his chest, inhaling the familiar mix of oil and Irish Spring. His arms wrapped around me, solid and warm, and for a split second, the future fractured, no crash, no grave, just this. But then the memories surged, his body cold in the morgue, the coroner's report I'd bribed a copy of listing mechanical failure, and the anonymous tip I'd ignored about Dad's side business with shady mechanics. "I love you," I whispered, fierce enough to bruise. He chuckled, oblivious, ruffling my hair. "Love you more." Red. "Pizza's getting cold." "And hey, your folks called. Dinner tonight. You up for it?" "Dinner?" "The ribs." The lies marinating like sauce. I pulled back, forcing a smile that felt like barbed wire. Wouldn't miss it. The drive to my parents' McMansion in Naperville was a 20-minute purgatory of golden hour traffic and Ethan's off-key humming to Springsteen on the radio. Our old Honda Civic rattled like it was on its last legs, ironic, given what was coming if I didn't intervene. I gripped the door handle, knuckles white, plotting my first move. Confront them now? Too soon. They'd circle the wagons, paint me as the hysterical daughter unraveling from stress. No. I needed proof. In my old life, the truth had unraveled slowly. Tyler's gambling debts, $500,000 sunk into underground poker rings in the city's underbelly. Dad, the upstanding real estate broker, dipping into escrow funds to bail him out, then laundering through investments with a crew of chop shop kings. Ethan? He'd stumbled onto it innocently, fixing a car for one of Tyler's buddies and overhearing too much. They'd warned him off. Then when he told me, because of course he did, my rock, they'd silenced us both. The crash was no accident. It was execution. And me? Collateral. Or maybe the real target. The loose end who wouldn't shut up about family secrets. We pulled into the driveway of that beige Colonial, the one with the 2-car garage stuffed with Dad's golf clubs and Mom's yoga mats. Lawn impeccably manicured, American flags flapping from the porch like a badge of normalcy. Brooke's Prius was already there, her and Tyler's cars forming a neat row, the golden children, untouched by the rot. Ethan killed the engine, squeezing my knee. You seem off, Reagan.
Spill.
I met his eyes, the weight of unspoken futures pressing down. Just promise me you'll be careful at work. Those late pickups from sketchy clients? Cut 'em loose if they feel wrong. He laughed. That easy rumble. Worried about me? Killer? I'm indestructible. Famous last words.
Inside.
The air was thick with hickory smoke and false cheer. Mom enveloped me in Chanel No. 5 and a hug too tight. Her Botox-smooth face creasing just enough to feign concern. Darling, we were so worried after the hospital.
Sit.
Eat, you'll feel better. Dad clapped Ethan on the back, booming about the Bears' slim playoff chances, while Tyler nursed a scotch, his Rolex glinting like a guilty secret. Brooke, ever the Instagram therapist in training, cooed about self-care boundaries. Dinner unfolded like a bad rehearsal, ribs slathered in sauce that stuck to my teeth. Small talk about my demanding job and Ethan's entrepreneurial spirit. I watched them, dissecting every glance. Mom's flicker to Dad when Ethan mentioned a new client. Tyler's jaw tightening at the word audit. They thought I was fragile, breakable. But death had forged me in fire. I was the blade now. As plates cleared, I excused myself to the bathroom, heart pounding. Their office, Dad's sanctum, was down the hall. Unlocked, because who suspects family? I slipped in, the door snicking shut behind me. File cabinets loomed like sentinels. Labels crisp, taxes, properties, investments. My hands, steady for the first time since waking, rifled through. Nothing obvious, no ledger of sins. But there, in a drawer labeled personal, a folder, T. Debts. I snapped photos with my phone. The flash a tiny rebellion. IOUs. Wire transfers to offshore accounts. A scribbled note in Dad's hand. E. Knows too much. Handle. Bingo. I flushed the toilet for cover, emerging with a flush-cheeked smile. Back at the table, Ethan was deep in shop talk with Dad, oblivious to the serpent coiling around us. Pass the pie. Red, he asked, and I did, the slice wobbling like my resolve. That night, tangled in sheets that still smelled of him, I lay awake, phone glowing with evidence. Step 1, protect Ethan. Tomorrow, I'd convince him to quit those side gigs. Fabricate a better offer if needed. Step 2, dig deeper. Tyler's trail led to the docks, where Chicago's shadows hid more than lake freighters. But as dawn crept in, doubt gnawed. Could I burn them without scorching myself? Revenge wasn't clean, it was a stain that spread. Little did I know, the first thread I'd pull would unravel everything. Starting with a call from Brooke at 7 a.m. Reagan, we need to talk. It's about Ethan. Brooke's voice on the line was all honeyed urgency. The kind she reserved for crisis interventions at her yoga studio. Namaste your way out of this.
Sis.
Meet me at the bean?
Coffee's on me. It's
delicate. I glanced at Ethan, still snoring beside me, one arm flung over my pillow like an anchor. Delicate. The word reeked of cover-ups. And after last night's file raid, my paranoia was dialed to 11. Fine, I said, keeping my tone light. Noon, she agreed, and I hung up, staring at the ceiling cracks that mapped out like veins. Ethan stirred, mumbling about torque wrenches, and I kissed his forehead, soft.
Alive.
Go back to sleep.
Love.
I've got a thing. The drive downtown was a gauntlet of autumn leaves swirling like confetti from a funeral. Millennium Park buzzed with tourists snapping selfies against the mirrored cloud gate, that giant kidney bean reflecting a fractured Chicago skyline. Brooke was already there, perched on a bench in Lululemon leggings and a scarf that screamed, intentional boho, steaming latte in hand. She waved me over, her smile brittle as spun sugar. "Reagan, you look intense." She air-kissed my cheeks, handing me a to-go cup. "Black. 2 sugars, same as always." We walked, the beans curve distorting our reflections into funhouse grotesques. She dove in without preamble. "It's Tyler."
And Dad.
"They're in deep.
Sis.
Debts, big ones. Ethan's been helping, you know, fixing cars for these guys. No questions asked. But last week, he overheard something. Names, amounts. Now they're spooked. My blood turned to ice water. Overheard. The spark that ignited the crash in my old life. I sipped the coffee to buy time, scalding my tongue. Spooked how? And why tell me now? She hesitated, eyes darting to a flock of pigeons scattering like secrets. Because you're the only one who can talk sense into him. Ethan's loyal, to a fault. But these people, they're not our crowd. Mob adjacent. Reagan. Chop shops. Smuggling parts across the border. Dad thought he was protecting the family, dipping into client funds for Tyler's poker hole. But Ethan's pushing back, saying he'll go to the cops if they don't cut him loose.
Protecting the family.
The lie burned hotter than the coffee. In my first go-round, Ethan had confided in me first, whispered it over takeout Thai one rainy night. I'd urged caution, suggested we talk to my parents together, like idiots. They'd played the wounded card. How could you believe this of us? And then the accident.
Now.
Brooke was the messenger. Probably scripted. Testing waters to see if I'd spill. I stopped under the bean, our warped images staring back me. Fierce-eyed, her. Evasive. "What do you want me to do?" "Brooke? Tell him to quit. He's already uneasy." She gripped my arm, nails digging like accusations. "More than that. Convince him to forget what he heard. Sign an NDA or something." Dad's lawyer drew one up. "It's generous. 10 grand to walk away clean."
10 grand.
Blood money, wrapped in legalese. Rage coiled in my gut, but I played it cool. The reincarnated me a better actress than the original. "And if he says no?" Her face crumpled. Theatrical.
Then.
Things could get messy. For all of us. Think of the family. Reagan. Mom's health, the stress would kill her.
Mom.
Who burned letters like they were trash.
Mom.
Who in the hospital after the crash had sobbed. "We did it for you, baby." To end the pain. I pulled away, the bean's reflection splintering as I stepped back. "I'll talk to him. But Brooke, if anyone's making things messy, it's you lot." Her eyes widened. Surprise? Fear? I didn't wait to parse it. I stormed off toward the L station, pulse thundering, piecing it together. She wasn't warning me. She was warning Ethan through me, the weak link. And that NDA? A gag order with teeth. Back home, Ethan was up, showered and humming while scrambling eggs. How'd it go with Brooke? She spilled the tea on her latest guru? I leaned against the counter, watching him flip the pan with that effortless grace, and decided, half-truths for now. Full disclosure, could wait until I had more ammo. Family drama. Tyler's in a bind, debts. They want you to back off those side jobs. He paused, spatula midair, then plated the eggs with forced casualness. Yeah? Figures. That last guy, Rico, creeped me out. Kept asking about discreet mods on a Cadillac. I told him no dice. Relief flooded me, sharp as a blade. In the old timeline, he'd push through for the cash, loyal to the bone. This time, fate, or me, had nudged him earlier. Eat, I said, sliding into a chair. And promise me no more. We're done playing fixer for my screw-up relatives. He sat across, forking eggs, his gaze steady. Screw-ups? Babe, it's not on you.
But yeah.
I'm out. Been thinking of that custom shop anyway, maybe pitch it to a bank. Optimism. Pure Ethan. It twisted something in me. The knowledge that banks wouldn't touch us with his credit dinged from co-signing Tyler's loans. Another thread in the web. We ate in companionable silence, but my mind raced. Next move, tail Tyler. His haunts were predictable: O'Malley's on Fridays for business, the underground games in a warehouse off Halstead. Tonight was Thursday, but close enough. Date night, I suggested.
Casual.
Hit a bar. Unwind. His grin lit the room. Hell yeah. But you're buying hospital bills and all. O'Malley's was a dive straight out of a Scorsese flick, neon signs flickering over scarred pool tables. The jukebox crooning Springsteen anthems to a crowd of off-duty cops and wise guys nursing highballs. We claimed a booth in the shadows. Ethan charming the bartender for a round of Malort shots, Chicago's liquid regret. I nursed mine, eyes scanning the room. Tyler was there. Of course. In the back corner with a trio of suits that screamed imported trouble, slick hair, pink earrings, accents thick as lake fog. Rico, the chop shop creep, was among them, gesturing wildly over a stack of photos, car parts, blueprints. Ethan followed my gaze, stiffening. That's him.
And your bro. Shit.
Reagan. Sure. I squeezed his hand under the table. Act normal. Laugh at my jokes. He did, booming a chuckle at my lame pun about wrenches. But his eyes were steel. Across the bar, Tyler glanced our way, paling like milk. He excused himself, weaving through the crowd toward us, smile pasted on like a mask. Little sis, Ethan. Man, fancy seeing you here. Slaps on the back. Too hearty. Join us? Game's hot tonight. Ethan's jaw ticked.
Nah.
We're good. Just slumming it. Tyler's eyes flicked to me.
Pleading.
Come on. One hand? For old times? Old times. College summers where he'd borrow my car and return it smelling of smoke and desperation. I'd covered for him then.
2.
No more. Pass, I said. Voice cool. Heard you're underwater.
Ty.
Need a life vest. The jab landed. His laugh was a bark. Always the comedian. Look. About those jobs, Rico's cool. Pays well. Too well. Ethan cut in.
Low.
And sketchy. I'm out. Tyler's mask slipped. A flash of panic. Out? We had a deal. No deal, I interrupted. Standing. Pulling Ethan up with me. Night's over. We brushed past, leaving Tyler sputtering. But as we hit the door, a hand clamped my shoulder. Rico. Breath like onions and entitlement. "Missus," he drawled, gold tooth glinting. "Your man's been useful. Shame to waste talent." His grip tightened, a warning wrapped in silk. Ethan stepped forward, chest out. "Hands off my wife," Rico released, smirking. Feisty. Like father-in-law. He nodded toward Tyler, then melted back into the crowd.
Outside.
The chill wind off the lake slapped us sober. "What the fuck? Reagan?" Ethan exploded once we were in the car. "Your family's poison. That guy, he's bad news. I fixed one car. Overheard him bragging about fencing parts from heists. Told Tyler to back off. But now we go to the cops," I said, the words tasting like justice and gunpowder. But even as I said it, the twist in my gut warned. Cops meant feds, meant audits, meant the whole rotten core exposed. And me, I'd be the snitch daughter, burned at the family stake. Ethan nodded.
Grim.
"Tomorrow. But tonight. Hold me." We drove home in silence, tangled later in desperate lovemaking that chased shadows. But sleep evaded me. Visions of the crash bleeding into dreams. Morning brought a text from Mom. "Family meeting.
Urgent.
Don't bring him." The noose tightened. I didn't tell Ethan. Instead, I drove alone to Naperville, stealing for war. The house loomed, curtains twitching like nervous fingers. Inside, they waited, Mom wringing her hands, Dad pacing. Tyler slumped with a hangover halo, Brooke cross-legged on the couch like a faux guru. "Reagan," Mom started, voice quivering.
Sit.
"We love you."
Love.
The word was a lie, sharp as the shears they'd used to clip loose ends. "Save it," I said, dropping my phone on the coffee table, the dead photos glaring up like indictments. "Game's up. All of it." Dad's face drained of color. "What is this?" "Proof. You're drowning in shit. And Ethan's the buoy you're trying to sink." I leaned in, voice a whip. "Touch him, and I burn you all." Tyler bolted up. "You crazy? This stays in the family." "Family?" I laughed.
Hollow.
"You killed that the night you let them tamper with our brakes." Silence crashed down, broken only by Mom's gasp. "Brakes? What are you?" But Brooke's face, oh. Her face crumbled into guilt. "She knows," she whispered. The room spun, confessions teetering on lips. My revenge was blooming, bloody and beautiful. But the thorns? They drew my blood first. The confession hung in the air like smoke from Mom's incinerated secrets, thick and choking. Brooke's whisper cracked the dam. It was supposed to be a warning. "Reagan." Just a scare, cut lines to make the car unreliable. Force Ethan to quit. But the rain. God, the rain made it worse. She buried her face in her hands, sobs muffled by designer sleeves, while Dad slumped into his leather armchair, the king dethroned, face ashen as stale bread. Worse, the word ignited me. In my old life, I'd pieced it together from fragments, a mechanic's offhand remark about sabotage signs, a deleted text on Tyler's phone from Rico, handle the loose lips. But hearing it raw, from Brooke's traitorous mouth, was a gut punch laced with vindication. "A warning," I echoed, voice flat as Midwest winter. "You murdered my husband for a goddamn warning." Mom surged forward, pearls clacking like rosary beads in a hurricane.
No.
"We never meant. Ethan was family. It was Tyler's mess. His debt's pulling us under. Your father. He borrowed from the wrong people to fix it. Rico's crew, they own half the city's underbelly. When Ethan started asking questions, threatening to talk, she trailed off, eyes pleading for absolution I wouldn't grant. Dad rubbed his temples. The mortgage broker facade crumbling. I called it off. Reagan told Tyler to back down. But Rico, he has ears everywhere. The crash, coroner ruled accident. Brake failure in the storm. Lies layered like varnish. But I saw through to the rot. In my first death, I'd believed it. Clung to it like a lifeline while they grieved with me. Funerals attended. Casseroles delivered. All while siphoning my widow's payout into their black hole. Tyler.
Silentino.
Exploded. You think I wanted this? I was drowning poker.
Yeah.
But it was my out. Dad's deals were supposed to be clean. Flips on foreclosures. Then the market tanked. And Rico swooped in with opportunities. Ethan fixed one car. Played hero. And boom, threats. I begged him to shut up. Begged. The irony soured my mouth.
Ethan,
the eternal good guy, had died for overhearing whispers about stolen Escalades chopped for parts. Shipped to Mexico, like contraband candy. And me, I'd been the afterthought. The wife who knew too much from pillow talk. You burned his letters. I spat at Mom. The old wound festering anew. Said my grief made people uncomfortable. Was that the plan? Erase him piece by piece. Her eyes welled. Crocodile tears.
Those.
They were poison. Darling. Keeping you chained to the past. We were helping you heal.
Heal.
The word was a slap. I'd spent a year in that first life as a ghost in my own skin, therapy sessions billed to insurance. Nights screaming into pillows. Days dodging pitying glances at the office. They'd isolated me. Convinced me the crash was fate's cruel joke. All while Tyler gambled deeper and Dad cooked books to cover. Brooke had even suggested a grief retreat in Sedona on my dime. Naturally. I paced the Persian rug. The one Mom bragged about from a steal in Istanbul. Probably fenced through Rico's network. Here's how this goes, I said. Voice steel. You confess. All of it to the cops, the feds, whoever. Tyler turns state's evidence. Dad coughs up the ledgers. And Rico? You give him up like the rat he is. Dad barked a laugh. Bitter. You think it's that simple? These guys don't confess. They bury. You'll get us all killed, Ethan, too.
Ethan.
The name was my talisman. He's out. And protected. I've got photos. Transfers, enough to flip the script. Bluff. Half of it, my phone held snapshots. But no smoking gun. Yet their fear fed me. A vampire at the vein. Brooke uncurled. Eyes red-rimmed. Reagan. Please. Wear your blood. Think of the scandal, headlines, trials. Mom's bridge club. Dad's clients. Ruined. Ruined. As if we hadn't been. Blood. I sneered. Blood doesn't sabotage breaks. Blood doesn't burn memories. I grabbed my phone. Thumb hovering over 911. Last chance. Confess. Or I do it for you. The room froze. A tableau of crumbling facades. Mom clutching Dad. Tyler ashen. Brooke whispering mantras to no avail. Dad broke first. Voice gravel.
Fine.
We talk to a lawyer first. Clean surrender. It was a stall. but I'd take it. I nodded, pocketing the phone. Tomorrow. My terms. I turned for the door, but Mom's please stopped me. Wait, the letters. I kept one. In my jewelry box.
Read it.
Foreclosure. Closure. A crumb from the hand that starved me. I wanted to spit, but curiosity, or masochism, won. Upstairs in her room, saccharine with potpourri. I rifled the velvet-lined drawer. There, amid gold chains, a single envelope. Ethan's scrawl. To my Red. On days when the world's too heavy, remember Milwaukee. That pier. Your laugh cutting through the fog. We're unbreakable.
Love. E.
Tears blurred the ink. Hot and furious. Unbreakable. I'd failed that once. Not again. Back home, Ethan was at the kitchen table, laptop open to loan calculators. How'd the meeting go? You look like you wrestled a bear. I collapsed beside him, the letter burning in my pocket. Bear's an understatement.
But.
We're cutting ties. All of them. Move, new city, fresh start. His brow furrowed, but he closed the laptop, pulling me close. Wherever you go.
Red.
But spill, what did they do? The dam cracked. I told him everything, not the reincarnation. That was my madness, but the sabotage. The debts. Rico's shadow. His face darkened with each word. Fists clenching. Son of a bitch. I knew it stank. But this? We're going to the cops. Today. Tomorrow. I echoed Dad's delay. Buying time to orchestrate. That night, we packed a go bag, essentials, passports, the .38 I'd bought post-crash in my old life, hidden in a lockbox. Paranoia? Or prescience? Dawn brought the lawyer's office in the loop, a sleek tower of glass and greed, where Dad's shark, Mr. Hargrove, droned about plea bargains and immunity deals. We sat in a circle of tension, my family, Ethan and me on one side, the vultures on the other. Hargrove laid it out. Tyler flips on Rico. Dad testifies to the laundering. Mom and Brooke get slaps on the wrist for aiding after the fact. In return, reduced sentences. Asset freezes lifted. Ethan's hand in mine was a lifeline. They pay, he growled. For the crash. Hargrove nodded. Manslaughter at worst. Vehicular. Unintentional. Unintentional. The lie stuck like tar. As signature scrawled, my phone buzzed, an unknown number. Walk away. Or the mechanic pays. Rico. Panic spiked, but I silenced it, texting back, too late. The die was cast. The weeks blurred into a storm, indictments unsealed. Headlines screaming suburban scandal. Broker family tied to auto theft ring. Tyler in cuffs. Blubbering on the news. Dad's face on every Chicago feed. The American dream's nightmare. Mom called daily. Voicemails a litany of "we did it for you." But I deleted them. Each one a cut loosed. Ethan and I holed up in a motel off I-90, then a sublet in Evanston close enough to testify. Far from daggers. Nights were feverish, lovemaking laced with urgency. Days plotting escapes to Seattle, where rain washed sins clean. But the threats escalated. Slashed tires on our rental. A brick through the window etched with snitch. One night, as thunder rattled the panes, Ethan paced. This is on me.
Red.
I should have walked sooner. No, I pulled him down.
Fierce.
It's theirs. And we're ending it. The trial loomed. Federal courthouse. A coliseum of justice porn. I took the stand first. Voice steady as I recounted the crash, not as victim, but avenger. They didn't just kill my husband, I said to the jury. Faces a sea of skepticism. They erased him. Burned his words because my pain was inconvenient. Gasps rippled. Mom sobbed theatrically from the gallery. Cross-examination was a gauntlet, the prosecutor painting me as the vengeful widow, defense as the unstable daughter. MS. Harlan, the lawyer sneered, your family's love was suffocating, wasn't it? Perhaps you fabricated this. Revenge fantasy. Fantasy. If only. I leaned into the mic, eyes on Dad's. Love doesn't sabotage breaks. It doesn't burn letters to silence grief. They betrayed us all for greed. The courtroom hushed. Twist. My testimony cracked Brooke. Mid-recess. She cornered me in the hall, whispering, Rico's not the top. It's bigger. Councilman ties. City Hall kickbacks. I have files. Hidden. Betrayals echo. Or redemption. I took the USB drive. Heart pounding. The real web. Dad's investments funneled to a crooked alderman. Rico the pawn. Handing it to the feds mid-trial was dynamite. New charges. The whole pyramid crumbling. But victory's edge was razor-sharp. As verdicts loomed, guilty across the board, Rico vanished. A ghost in the wind. And me, nightmares of the crash evolved. Now, I saw my own hands on the wheel, steering into the skid. The gavel fell like thunder on a clear day, echoing through the courthouse as the foreman intoned guilty for each count: conspiracy, fraud, involuntary manslaughter. Dad's empire, built on foreclosed dreams and falsified deeds, collapsed in a murmur of flashbulbs and stunned gasps. Tyler, shackled and hollow-eyed, met my stare with something like relief, or maybe surrender. Mom wailed, collapsing into Brooke's arms, who held her stiffly, the USB drive's betrayal still fresh between us. Ethan squeezed my hand under the bench, his whisper fierce. You did it?
Red.
Justice. Justice. The word tasted like chalk, dry and incomplete. As marshals led my family away, sentences pending, but 20-plus years apiece loomed, I felt no triumph, only the hollow echo of tires screeching on wet asphalt. We'd won the war, but the battlefield was littered with shrapnel, my siblings fractured. Parents' ghosts in orange jumpsuits. The family name a punchline on Windy City podcasts.
Outside.
Chicago's winter bit hard December now. Flurries dancing like ash from Mom's fire pit. Reporters swarmed, mics thrusting like bayonets. MS. Harlan. Any words for your family? Ethan shielded me, barking no comment as we buelled through to our waiting lift. Inside, safe from the frenzy, he pulled me close. It's over. Rico's in the wind, but the feds are hunting. We're free.
Free.
The motel days had stretched into a blurry limbo, safe houses courtesy of witness protection prelims. Nights where Ethan traced my scars, the real ones from the crash. Faded but etched. I told him fragments of my premonitions, chalking it up to trauma-fueled intuition. And he believed. Because love does that, suspends disbelief. But as the city lights streaked past, doubt crept in like fog off the lake. The twist I'd buried deep. In this life. Saving him had saved me. But at what cost? The letters. That one survivor. now yellowed in my wallet like a talisman, whispered of simpler vows. Had revenge poisoned us too? We relocated to Portland, ethereal Ethan's dream. All craft brew and evergreens, under new names courtesy of a federal favor. Reagan became Riley Harlan Wells, a nod to his middle name, and we bought a fixer-upper craftsman with a yard for the dog we'd never had. He opened the shop, Wells Custom Rides, specializing in eco-mods for Teslas and Subarus. The irony not lost on me. I quit marketing for freelance graphic design, remote gigs that let me breathe without the chokehold of cubicles. Months blurred into routine, mornings with espresso and his laughter over burnt toast. Evenings walking the bridges where Willamette waters murmured forgiveness. No threats materialized. Rico turned up in a Juarez ditch. Suicide, the official line. But whispers said cartel payback for snitching chains. The alderman? Indicted. His empire folding like a bad hand. My family faded to postcards from minimum security, Mom's cursive pleas for visits, Tyler's scrawled apologies, Brooke's therapy speak missives about healing journeys. I burned them all, one by one, in our backyard fire pit, a ritual reclaiming the ashes. But peace was a fragile truce. One April night, as cherry blossoms dusted the porch, Ethan found the letter in my wallet while doing laundry. He read it by lamplight, face softening, then hardening.
This.
You kept it all this time? I nodded, throat tight. The last one. Mom saved it, ironically. Said it was for closure. He set it down, eyes searching mine. You've been carrying this weight since before. Everything. The crash that wasn't. The threats. Hell. The way you knew just where to look. What to say in court, like you'd lived it twice. My heart stuttered. The secret. The impossible core. Reincarnation. A cosmic do-over I'd spun into gut feelings. Lie or truth. In the quiet. With his gaze unflinching. The dam cracked. I did, I whispered. Live it twice. Died in that crash. Choking on blood. Watching you go. Woke up in the hospital. 3 years back. It's insane.
Ethan.
But it's why I fought, knew the plays. The betrayals. Silence stretched. Taut as a wire. I braced for doubt. For the soft letdown of your grieving. Red. But he cupped my face. Thumb tracing my jaw. Insane? Maybe. But you're here. We're here. If that's the magic or madness that got us this, I'll take it. His kiss was salt and salvation, sealing the fracture. We didn't speak of it again, but it bound us deeper. Late-night confessions over whiskey, where I'd recount the old life's ghosts, the burned letters' words I'd memorized, the siblings' pettiness amplified in hindsight. He listened, never prying, just holding space. Therapy helped too. A couples counselor in a loft overlooking the river, unpacking the trauma without the supernatural spin. Summer brought the bloom, a positive test. The sticks line stark as fate's rewrite. A kid, Ethan hooped, spinning me in the kitchen till dizziness hit. Our unbreakable legacy. I laughed through tears, hand on the swell that wasn't there yet, but would be a girl. We learned, with his hazel eyes in the scan. The twist came unannounced. A FedEx from Brooke's prison address, a manila envelope. No note. Inside, a stack of letters, dozens. Ethan's handwriting marching across pages yellowed but intact.
How?
A smaller note slipped out. Brooke's script, found them in Mom's attic after the raid. Hid them before the fire. For you.
Sis.
Forgive if you can. Forgive. The word no longer scorched, it softened, like rain on parched earth. I read them aloud to Ethan that night. By firelight, promises of forever. Jokes about our disastrous first apartment. Dreams of road trips untethered from family chains. The grief, once a monster making others uncomfortable, now sat companionable, a scar that told our story. We visited once. The end of it all, Supermax visiting room. Plexiglass between worlds.
Mom.
Freilier pressed her palm to the barrier. Dad nodded. Gruff, Tyler. Sober now. Murmured thanks. Brooks smiled.
Genuine.
You saved us. Reagan. From ourselves.
I didn't contradict.
Write more, I said. Letters. Keep them this time. Driving home. Ethan at the wheel of our sensible hybrid. I watched the miles unspool, no skids. No shadows. Revenge had been my resurrection. But this, him humming off-key, hand on my knee, our daughter kicking hello, was redemption. In the rear view, Chicago faded. A city of sins absolved. I was Reagan again.
Whole.
Unburned.